Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Eric Meahan is with us, Repair 360. Eric, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks for having me back again.
Great to see you a little earlier this year. A lot happening, Eric, in this space with used vehicles, reconditioning, and fixed ops. It all seems to be coming together under that big umbrella with Repair 360.
Yeah, that's right. And we anticipate used cars really taking off in 2026. So it's an exciting time to dive into some of these topics.
And dealers are finding, as the place to, make money and count on that because Varial's been a little bit different lately. Is used cars, fixed ops. So I want to ask you about that. Used cars being increasingly in demand by consumers. The consumers looking for ways to save money, but used car gross has dropped. I see over 12% year over year. What do you think, or what are some of the factors that are contributing to that profit drop?
Yeah, it is a good question. I think we're still actually seeing some issues that have popped up post COVID when used car prices soared, when there was a lack of vehicles because of chips. And then from there, we ran right into inflation that then ran into tariffs. So it's kind of been like a
Mm.
perfect storm of problems that have kind of led to some of the issues that we're seeing around used car profits dropping. But on top of that, there's still part shortages, which are making parts more expensive. We have labor shortages, making labor more expensive. And a lot of the newer cars are becoming more complicated, either because they're EVs or they have ADAS features that mean so if you touch a bumper, now you have to calibrate the bumper or calibrate the car because of replacing the bumper or the windshield. Those are things that we didn't have in the past that are eroding some of the profit as part of it. And then the last thing that we still see is dealers not managing the recon process well, which is adding a lot of time and taking away how much money that they can make on a per unit basis. So there's a lot that's going in, and the dealer can only control what they can control, and that's kind of what we try to help the dealership with.
I know Repair 360 really helps the dealer. And I want to ask you a little bit more about that recon process. You and I were talking in the green room before we got started. I had a question or two to ask you about some of the latest Carfax data showing 2.5 million vehicles that are on the road right now are suspected to have their odometers rolled back. I thought that was a thing of the past. But you tell me it's not, and there's actually a 14% increase versus just 2 years ago in 2024. Why are dealerships encountering more vehicles with odometer rollbacks and other fraudulent work that's been done to them?
Yeah, we all thought it was a thing of the past when you couldn't actually physically roll back the odometer on the dashboard itself, but it definitely is not. So now the odometer reading comes from certain modules on the ECU, and what we are seeing is a couple things that are happening. You can actually go buy devices, even on Amazon, that will allow fraudsters to actually update the odometer to give it an incorrect reading, right? And then on top of that, the other one we're seeing too is actually just them manipulating the VINs to make it look like it's a different vehicle. But when you're in a world where used cars are in high demand, meaning they're getting more money than ever for used cars, it's a big incentive for people to go buy a car at a cheaper price, roll back the odometer using a tool, and then go sell it at a higher price because it looks like the vehicle has less mileage or it's actually a different vehicle altogether by manipulating the VIN number. But yeah, I know a lot of folks think it doesn't happen, and because of that, they don't check for it. But unfortunately, we still see it quite often with some of our larger clients that have kind of caught on to this that are checking now, and those numbers are about in line with even what they report to us is the frequency that they're seeing it. And look, this isn't businesses trying to pull a fast one on other businesses. It's usually individuals or groups of people that are just doing it to make a quick buck.
And Eric, there's a focus now in retail. As a follow-up, I want to ask you,
Yeah, yeah.
dealers are encouraging more trade appraisals, more evaluations, because the more vehicles we look at, obviously, the more sales we can put together. So I would think this is going to be, if it's not already, top of mind, okay, and what's happening out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, it definitely is. And look, we encourage our dealers to, if they're not trying to actively acquire more vehicles from appraisal versus auction, to be doing that. It is a way to help control cost. But at the same time, that's where some of this risks comes into play, and you have to be aware that this is happening, and you have to have measures in place to check for it. And like nobody wants to think that their customer is trying to fraud, pull a fast one on them, but it happens. And there's other things that you can catch as part of this process too. So we definitely encourage one of our things that we tell our dealers is, recon really should start at the appraisal process, but actually part of that too is just making sure that you're acquiring the vehicle for what it is, and not for a different vehicle or different mileage.
You mentioned the VIN numbers also,
Yep.
as a target. All right, any tips, anything you can give our audience? How can dealerships to help identify, uh, fraud work on a vehicle during that appraisal process? Anything that you're seeing out there that comes to mind that we should be aware of? Because we've got a lot of used car and, recon managers who are watching. They may have some of their own, but I would imagine with the number of vehicles that you're involved with, Repair 360 around the country, you might have seen a few things.
Yeah, the big one is some of the typical stuff that they're doing, making sure that they're bouncing the VIN off of Carfax or AccuTrade or anything along those lines. It's going to give more details about the vehicle. That's really important as part of this process to keep doing that. But on top of that, though, we highly encourage them having a portable OBD2 scanner device that so when they're doing the appraisal, they can plug it in. One of them is Blue Driver, happens to be one of our sister companies that's
Yes.
fully integrated into Repair 360. But as part of that, you're going to get a couple things that are going to happen. Blue Driver can talk to all the modules on a computer, so or on the ECU, so it can find the actual VIN number and actual mileage, even if it's been altered, and throw up red flags, so you know that this is something you should be paying attention to. And then it goes a little deeper
Wow.
into that too, which we can talk more about. But that's kind of the basis of where they should be working today. And I would say the vast majority of dealers still are not scanning cars, and there's other reasons why you should be scanning cars. One of the things that we didn't talk about here, but it is something that's happening more
Yeah.
and more is customers buying cheaper devices off of like Amazon again and clearing their codes before they trade the vehicle in, right? And if you don't take measures to do that, you may be buying what you think is a clean vehicle, and turns out that vehicle is going to cost you a few extra $1,000 in repairs.
So using that Blue Driver device, best in the industry, by the way, okay?
Yep.
You gotta be extremely proud of that, but using that can help identify things like, the actual VIN, and again, it doesn't take a lot of time, it just takes that little bit of extra effort, and again, Blue Driver is very easily available, all right,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
dealers to
yeah.
use, and having multiple, of them as well.
Yeah, that's right. And you plug in the device, you click the button, it starts scanning. And by the time you walk around the outside of the vehicle to look at other cosmetic repairs that may need to be done, it's already done its scan and is giving you any indication if there's anything wrong with the vehicle, as well as some other stuff like if there's codes and what the repairs may cost, and pulls in part data and labor data, so that way you can build out a better appraisal and also protect your dealership from any fraud that's happening.
We're speaking today to Eric Meehan from a company called Repair 360, big name in our industry, helping retail dealers, franchise dealers on the new and used vehicle process. You've addressed some of these already, Eric, but I want to just come back. Why is it important to have these integrated systems for recon so buyers can make a better purchasing decision, buying, in other words, the dealer buying when appraising vehicles? Why is it important to have these integrated systems?
Yeah, it is really important. If not, you're kind of buying blind, right? So when you appraise a vehicle, whether you be Blue Driver that's integrated into like Motor to give you parts and labor data, as well as we're integrated with all the OEs, so we get the actual OE diagnostic data.
Yeah.
It reports back to vAuto, so you can build out a better appraisal that way and understand your costs. But it also then reports the data back to Repair 360, so you can start the reconditioning of the vehicle before you even acquire the vehicle, right? So you'll know what parts and labor you need. You can get a head start for when you do acquire the vehicle. All this type of stuff helps make a better purchasing decision, because you're going to understand how much you're going to be all in on that vehicle, if it exceeds the capacity of what you're willing to recon on a vehicle. Some of the parts that are more common that may require back orders and stuff, you may try to avoid that. and then just getting a head start on the part ordering, scheduling sublets helps shave down cycle time right off the bat before the vehicle is even in your used car reconditioning facility to get to the next step. So, nowadays, if you're using disconnected tools, you're getting some benefit, but tools that are fully baked throughout your entire process, it just adds a ton of value to the dealership as a whole, and kind of helps control that cost. Back to question number one, in order for them to help make more profit per unit.
It's an exciting time to be in our industry, Eric, because
Yep.
I mean, you these are legacy um industries, okay, automotive retail, but now all the technology that you're talking about here, it's really changed the whole game, okay?
Yep.
It's made it exciting because, I can't wait to see what's next and what's coming. Um, and if I can just segue a little bit, how are EVs and modern vehicles? You mentioned the ADAS features. Want to come back to that. How are EVs and vehicles with those ADAS features complicating recon and making appraisal decisions even more important?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely added a whole layer of complexity to the process. And if you got to think about like, the person looking at a vehicle may know a lot about ICE vehicles, but when the EV rolls up, you don't understand the health of the battery, you don't understand how many times it's been supercharged, what the health of the actual motors are. And that adds a whole level of different type of analysis that you're gonna have to do in order to acquire this vehicle. And a lot of times it's just best guess. And even a lot of the tech that's out in the industry today that is making judgments about the battery health of the vehicle is just that. It is just a judgment. So and then on for vehicles that have ADAS features, which are anything that's within the last few years, this then adds a whole different level, because if you're looking at a windshield that needs to be replaced, now you're talking about calibrating the vehicle. Same with like if there's bumper damage, mirror damage. This adds additional cost and time. A lot of times, some dealers can't do this type of calibration event themselves, or if they have to replace the part and they have to program it, so then they're outsourcing it, which may mean seeing it to a different dealer or having a sublet vendor come on site, which then adds days to the process, as well as adding multiple hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars worth of calibration and programming events. So this is just stuff for the dealer has to be aware of as they're appraising the vehicle, and they're thinking through like, how much money am I going to put into this vehicle in order to get it frontline ready, and am I willing to make that type of investment? And there are tools like Blue Driver, who is adding EV technology into its product today, and as well as Repair 360, that has a robust feature set around parts and labor targeted towards ADAS and EVs itself to kind of help manage through this process. But a big part of it is just awareness and education in the industry to make sure that they understand that it isn't just as simple as a $200 windshield anymore. It's a
Oh,
$200 windshield or $1,000 windshield and a $500 calibration event. So yeah, exactly. So the car is safe to drive, because nobody wants to put a car out on the market that isn't
right.
safe to drive because the ADAS systems aren't aligned.
Right, that windshield may have been a couple $100 a few years ago, but
Yep.
today, that same vehicle is equipped, and, Eric, used vehicles are gonna continue to be at the top, okay? Great
Yep.
interest in what's happening right now. You're on the cutting edge there with, Repair 360. Um, alright, where does our audience go to get more information on how you can help dealers, how you can help their specific dealer? I know you are integrated with a lot of things that dealers are using right now. Tell us a little bit more how dealers can get more info, because I think this is the perfect time. We're in the spring market, and you know it's going to be big this year.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously you can find us on our website at repair360.com. We also post a lot of content on LinkedIn, so you can find us there as well at Repair360. And feel free to reach out. We're always happy to help. The big thing is we try to help our customers more than just on the software side, but actually help them better execute on their recon, better manage their vendors. So we try to be a partner to our dealerships to really make them more efficient.
I think the person who learns the most at these fixed ops roundtables is me, because I get a tremendous education talking to you every time we get together, and I've already learned a lot today. Okay,
Awesome.
in just a couple minutes that we've had together, Eric. So
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ted.
congratulations on, first of all, doing a great job explaining it, and, making this more understandable, and for dealers to reach out, everybody. Eric Meahan is available, Repair 360, repair360.com on the web. His email is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can reach out to them there. And if you are on social media on LinkedIn, as many of us are, I see that Repair 360 is super active. So, Eric, thank you for all you do for the industry, and congratulations to you on continued success with Repair 360.
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. There you have it. Eric Meehan with Repair 360 here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.